I didn't say that. That wasn't my job. You said that means I didn't know. I didn't say that. But I'll tell you what. That white stuff. You remember? Yeah. I really did. It was black. No.
All right, I need a motion and a second to enter into public session for the Board of Ed meeting October 13th, 2020. Motion,
Second.
all in favor? Aye. Before we begin, I just want to say. I just want to say.
Whose microphone's on? Okay. I got a lot of questions about emails being read and questions coming to the public. We brought in emails because of COVID and we couldn't meet live and we still wanted to hear from the public. But now that we're live and in person again, I want the audience members, you guys all came out here, you guys get to speak. We don't have a lot of time for that, so we let the audience speak. As far as emails, you can still send them in. They're just not going to be read at the meetings anymore because we're live. So if you want them answered, and you send an email, the administration will answer the questions and there's a document on board docs where they answer all these questions. So that's how we're going to work that for now until the governor tells us that we can't go live again, and then we'll go back to emails. Or if not, we'll stay live. So that's what I wanted to start off by saying. Okay, we did the reconvene. We're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance now. John, will you lead us in the pledge tonight? I know, I felt like this.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yes, so we have Ms. Panico, Board President,
President, oh, here.
Mr. Washaw, Board Vice President. We have Mrs. Napolitano Furno, Board Trustee,
Present.
Mrs. Mylan Augulus, Board Trustee, and Ms. Lee Kennedy, Board Trustee. Then we have Mr. Reza Kolahifar,
Present.
Mr. Dean Middleman,
Present.
Miss Bridget Villarreal. Present. And then we also have Miss Lisa Hutchinson.
Present.
And myself, Jessie Kemp, the District Clerk.
Oh,
And we do have Miss Gail Santo, Director of PPS, up here as well.
thank you. Okay. Are there any changes to the meeting agenda? Not that I know of. Oh, actually, I think this is my front. Where's the main sheet? I had it in my packet. There's a bunch of the letters on the consent agenda. I want to table those. They're two, look like form letters. So, does anybody look over the agenda and see the letters that were written?
I thought they were generic.
Generic, and yeah, so I would like to rewrite those with a more personal touch and not be so form letterish. So I'd like to table those letters tonight
I'm fine with that.
as well.
I agree.
Okay, so I can have a motion and a second?
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, so that's off the agenda. Jesse? And again, I don't have that first main page. I know, but I have to go to the next part, and I need that thing, because it's the consent agenda. You know what I'm talking about, Jess? The main, wait, it might be under these. The main page that says where everything is, the call to order, I got it right here. Okay, that's what I was looking at. All right, perfect. The next part is the minutes of the board, yeah, that's what I needed, thank you. Minutes of the Board of Ed from, wait, I know, I gotta call for a motion in a second for the minutes of the Board of Ed for the dates.
September 8th to 22nd.
Thank you. So I need a motion and a second to accept the minutes of September 8th, 2020 business meeting.
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion and a second to accept the minutes of September 22nd, 2020 planning session. I need a motion and a second.
Motion.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Had a lot of questions in executive for this part, for the personnel agenda. Okay, for Schedule 1, resignations, terminations, leaves of absences. I need a motion and a second to accept the recommended resignations, terminations, and leaves of absences.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
On Schedule 2, I would like to pull 1A for a separate vote.
1A.
1A, and I should have talked about this in executive, but we didn't have time. But we'll do that in a second executive and then come back out in public and vote if we need to. Well, that's what I want to do. I'd like to table it, actually.
Why don't we just table it?
Okay, can we table 1A until the second?
I'll say it.
Okay,
I'll second.
Are you questioning the salary or something more?
I'm questioning a few things.
Just table it.
We can, there's a second consent agenda. We can take a quick break, go and talk about this and come right back out and then finish the meeting. Because there's a second consent agenda after discussion and after public portion.
Okay.
Okay, so can I get a motion and second to table that?
Motion.
Second. All in favor? Aye, okay. So for everything else from 2 through, looks like, for everything except 1A on Schedule 2, I need a motion and a second to accept Schedule 2.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Jesse, where is the sheet that she read?
I'm at the personnel agenda, Schedule 2.
Wait, so you finished Schedule 1?
Yes, we did. We already accepted Schedule 1.
Okay, so, Schedule 2, I'm not pulling anything, I'll agree to your table.
Right.
My question, I guess, would be for me, is that there is quite a few new hires, and it does say COVID, it listed some of the reasonings behind adding that position. Is this included in the $4 million, budget that Dr. Adams had posted to us? Or are these?
Marlene, is your microphone on? You brought, shone that light right in my eye.
Or are these additional positions, other than the ones that she had initially told us the price of 4 million, inclusion?
These are the ones that are included.
Okay, great, just thank you.
All right. Next is, recommended actions, G, financial matters. Items 1 and 2, the first is no, it's just 2 through. The treasurer's report, claims auditor reports, overtime reports, appropriation status. Anybody, let's get a motion in a second and then discussion.
I'll motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, discussion?
I have a question. for Bridget. When do you expect to close the books?
So Cullen and Danowski will be here October 27th, the next Board of Education meeting. So all their findings will be presented then, and the appropriation status report, the revenue status report, and any other reports for closing out through June 30th, 2020 will be on October 27th.
Okay, so, at a glance, do you know how much money was left over from that current fiscal period? Oh, that, shouldn't say current, but that fiscal period.
Yes.
How much?
So the total unassigned fund balance without funding with reserves, without anything else that happens transaction-wise is 17 million.
17 million.
If you fund reserves, so in my update to the board, let me start here.
That's the second discussion, though. That fund, the reserves we're gonna do about, for the second discussion.
Right. So at your opening unassigned fund balance, I'm going to start from the very top. You're at 8 million. If you add in the revenues over budget at 3 million, expenditures and encumbrances under budget is 11 million. So that's what you had left on the table. Change in non-spendable fund balance.
So wait, 17 million is what's left on the table?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's that percentage?
So going back to the 17 million, that is, the 17 is without, because Cullen and Danowski cannot finish their work, cannot finish the financial statements until tonight's resolution for funding reserves takes place. So it looks like 17, but that's without the 6.9 that goes into reserves plus interest. So all this little chart that I gave you guys the other day will change based on their information that changes.
Okay, so it's gonna lead me to my next question. I don't know if it's a now question or a later question. I'm assuming it might be a later question, but
If
can
it's
you
about the
explain?
fund reserves, Mylin, we have the auditor coming in at 8:30, so.
Okay, that's fine. I just wanted Bridget to do an explanation from the board because I don't know why I keep flopping on this when I think I spoke to you earlier, Eileen. I
Yeah.
think you are and I perceive it to be the same definition, but I just want to hear it from Bridget.
Okay.
So Bridget, how is the unemployment work? How is it funded? How is it an insurance that we fund? Are we self-pay? You know, can you, self-insured? Can you explain, what we are?
Sure. So most school districts are self-insured. So we get our bill, and the bill happens once a quarter. What you do is you set an expenditure line, a line item in your budget. Historically, we have never expended over $55,000. Budgeted for 2021 was $90,000. But then COVID happened, and anybody that was a sub teacher, so on and so forth, could also apply for unemployment. So our first bill we received blew out that $90,000 budget to $181,000, just that first bill.
181?
Bridget,
Yes.
can I just have you clarify this? A lot of people are under the misinformation that even though we're self-insured, that just means that we pay an unemployment insurance company
Yes,
money. We do not pay.
the state.
If the state,
Yes.
we don't pay someone's unemployment check. We don't give them
No.
the $300 or the $600 extra.
No.
We pay it to the insurance company, and then they pay it out because it's an insurance.
Correct. And
Okay,
then
a
they
lot of
send.
people think that we pay, because you say self-insure, people think we pay the unemployment directly. I want people to be aware that we don't do that.
It is through the state. The state will then send us a bill, and we verify that each person on that isn't also receiving a paycheck.
Correct.
Eileen, I don't know if I'm hearing the same thing. So say, for example, 10 people go out on unemployment, their checks are $300 each, right? That's $3,000. Are we paying the
No, we
$3,000?
pay a percentage.
Are we paying the insurance
We
to,
pay an insurance
to fund-
percentage. I'll let you answer that, Bridget, but
are we paying the 3,000 or are we paying the insurance portion of that? So if I get into a car accident, am I paying the 30,
no, but your insurance goes up.
your insurance would go up?
Right.
That's what normally, I mean, at least when I was, running buildings, that's what we paid into. When you mean by self-insured, is the district paying out the 30,000 or is it only a small piece of the 30,000?
It's a piece of everything.
Okay, gotcha.
So then in each quarter, when we get the bill, we're responsible for that piece of it. But the problem is that before COVID, the piece, for the entire year was never more than $55,000.
Right.
But that's another
Right, we don't pay
conversation.
the full $300 a week, Mylan, say that was
Right,
the limit.
okay.
Right.
All right, because the only reason why I'm questioning that is that how many people collected the unemployment to get that surge?
Yeah, I thought we
Uh-huh.
paid everybody.
We did pay everyone, but if you were a sub, you could also apply for unemployment.
Oh, this year, that's right.
Yes, yes.
And now how are we getting the money for the federal part of it, the $600 extra piece? How did that go
That's all through the state. That's not
through us? We don't
Through
have no
us.
part of that, right?
right. So with the unemployment reserve, the way it works, you set your budget for the year. And once you go over that budget, then you could start to utilize your unemployment reserve. So there will be a shift at some point in the year. It doesn't make sense to do it now because we're still going to receive those bills and all that will change. And it really depends on what it looks like for Suffolk County and especially ConnectBot, whether we're in or out.
So next year, if all goes well and everyone's healthy and we're open, fully functional, and say we go back to our regular low counts of unemployment, does that reflect on the insurance to then readjust for those lower applications?
Yes, we'd be spending out much less than we're looking at this year.
I just want to also just throw out there, because Mark just reminded me,
Well, okay, so now if we're talking about best case scenario of hoping that we go back, yeah, absolutely. But there's really currently no indication that it will be that way for quite some time. So once we do go out, yeah,
I think one of the points is that due to the increase in hiring this year, those, depending on whether those people will still be needed for next year, will depend also and factor into the unemployment.
That's a valid point, yeah, you're right, so you're right. I didn't think
That
about
was from
that.
John.
I just want to, Mark just reminded me, we are socially distanced, we're all 6 feet apart. If you guys are socially distanced or you with a family member and you want to remove your mask, I know some people can't deal with it all day long. I know I myself have sinus issues, so I remove my mask because I'm socially distanced. If you get up from your seat, I ask that you put your mask back on and walk around, but while you're sitting there, as long as you keep your distance, you can take your mask off if you'd like. Okay. Any more questions on that financial matters?
No, thank you.
Okay. I need a motion and a second to accept all the reports.
Motion.
I think you put the motion, you're just looking for an all in favor.
No, I said discussion first.
No, I think you put the motion on the table, you're just looking for an all in favor now.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. The next is the consent agenda. We asked to table item 2, the BOE correspondence. Well, we're gonna pull those letters.
Yeah, there was a switch to number 12, when to, I believe, for an email that I shared. it.
If you emailed after 2 o'clock, I didn't see it.
Yeah, so the tax levy has to be done after the reserve. So we have moved that from the first consent
Okay, to the second.
to the second.
Okay, so that's on the second consent. That's my pen now. All right. So it'll be, we'll take a motion in a second, then we'll discuss it. Can I have a motion and a second to discuss the consent agenda? Motion.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, discussion. So again, I have a couple of questions. Number 2, we're pulling, is that number 2? Where's number 3? Oh. Retention and disposition of records. I didn't see that. Okay, I know what that is. The bond change order recommendation. Why are we doing the change order?
So when we were renovating the library, initial thoughts for that, all of the technology and printers, everything that would be used in the library would be wireless.
For which school is this?
This is the high school.
Okay, good.
After looking at the technology and conversations with the department and administration, it was determined that we needed to put some physical drops in there so that we're not reliant on the wireless component in there, so that was one of the change orders. The other one involved the old library had a series of outlets and data ports in the floor, embedded in the floor. They were not removed from the scope. They were not supposed to be done as part of the initial scope of work. And after looking at the layout of the furniture, looking at all the other outlets throughout the entire space, it was deemed that they were not necessary and they would only cause problems to the flooring in those areas. So that's the other change order.
But the Cat 6 drops, you need 30 of them for $7,400?
So, yeah, for individual, for the smartboard, for the computers, for the printers, 3D printers, all different peripherals. Once we do it, there's a couple drops that are gonna stay suspended in the ceiling in case we need to relocate stuff in the future. But yes, for the most part, all of those individual.
So the drops are gonna come from the ceiling, so they're gonna be hanging down?
No, they're in the ceiling, coiled up in a couple locations, not all of them, but the rest of them, or actually behind the walls and everything else. They'll be embedded into the wall, so they'll just look like a regular house.
Okay. All right. So that means you can only put the computers around the edge.
No, but those are the ones that would be directly connected to the network. The rest of it, there's wireless routers in there. So all of the Chromebooks and the other technology would have the ability to hook up to the wireless system as well.
Okay. All right. What can someone, probably you, Dean, explain exactly what an APP lead evaluator is for everyone?
So we're required by New York State to have each of our administrators certified as evaluators of our instructional staff each year. As we do periodically, we will continuously put them to the board for approval prior to the observation process starting.
Okay. The textbook excess, are we using a new version of the same book? Is it just because they're not in good working condition? Can we get it online? I mean, I don't know why we're.
Yep, so all of the versions that we purchase come with an online component. Generally, what we do is we purchase a classroom set for in the building, and then the students have access to the online resource both in school and at home as well.
Okay. So these books are just, but we're using the same version?
I'm just going to pull it out.
Yeah, I just don't know why we're getting rid of these. It didn't really, it might have said, but I didn't really see it.
So I think these are outdated versions.
Okay, that's what it was. That's what I thought. All right, the next one is the special education committee meetings. Didn't we already approve the whole list? Why are we doing this again? Thought we do that at the reorg. We get all those, the list of every meeting for CSE.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'm not 100% sure of why this is back on there, but I can get a clarification for the board.
Okay, so then I want to table that until we have the clarification.
I just want to make sure.
Jesse, can you see if it was on the rework meeting?
I'm looking now.
Thanks, Jesse. All right, we'll go back to that one. The next one is the Linda Mood Bell. What do they provide and for how many children?
I think that's something Lisa can answer for us.
Yes, this was in connection with one of your special education students. We entered into an agreement, and one of the agreements was for Linda, part of the agreement was for Linda Mood Bell to come in and do some consultant training for your staff.
Oh, that's what they're doing. So that we are doing it in-house and they're just training our
Yes,
staff.
correct.
Okay, I'm okay with that. The budget transfers,
I had questions on that.
okay, good. All right, go ahead. I'll let you ask those questions. Marlene, let me just finish up mine and then you can ask those questions because I think we probably have the same ones.
Sure.
The next one is the tax levy. Can you just explain what we're doing here, Bridget?
Explain what we're changing?
Yeah, just explain what the tax levy and how this all, I mean, there's a lot of numbers. So can you just explain it so that
Sure.
it's on camera and everybody has
Absolutely.
it?
So October 15th, you set the levy for the current year. And that's because throughout the year, and especially during this time, there's going to be a difference in the assessed valuation. So the tax rate is slightly lower than anticipated. We projected 18.8844, the actual 18.8217. And that's because an increase in assessed valuation over the estimate happened.
Okay. I just wanted other people to know. The last one until the second discussion item is, the facility, oh no, that's on the second one, right? Facility use outdoor only? We should actually put that on the second one.
I wanted to have, public comment. I wanted to do that. before.
That's indoor though, Jackie. I know what
Yeah,
you're talking about. This is the list of organizations that we're approving? Is
Yes,
there-
this is the ones who have submitted paperwork to be approved as participants.
Outdoor, as long as they
Yes.
follow all the guidelines. Okay.
Correct.
There's one extra that's not approved?
On that list, but that's attached. All the other ones have already been approved.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Mylene, you can ask your questions now.
Bridget, I noticed that there is budget transfers from the security non-instruction armed security guards or idle hour, and then it's going into a security contractual. It's estimated about, $718,000 that you're transferred into the security contractual. Is that any particular reason why you're doing that? Is that to decipher and to, or is that because that's going through BOCES?
It's because we originally put it in the payroll code, but they're not our employees. So for accounting purposes, we're shifting it to contractual where it belongs because it is through the contract through BOCES. But, well, not technically, through Covert. So it's a contractual service. They're not our employees coming off of our payroll.
But is Covert under BOCES where we get some kind of percentages, discounts? We're paying
We
through BOCES.
do, but I'm pretty sure, I would have to confirm with Don, I'm pretty sure that the armed guards is a different rider through the contract.
But normally anything that we contract through BOCES, we get some kind of,
Yes, aid back on it, yes.
Those are my same questions.
so you're gonna get me the answer to that.
So are we talking about extracurricular sports also? Somewhere I heard?
I can't hear you. Lee. Can you put your microphone on?
Talking about extracurricular, clubs and stuff? Was that brought up?
That's the next section.
Okay.
Just so everyone knows, Jesse did look it up and we only approved the meetings through, the CSE meetings through June 30th, 2020. So that's why these are on there. Are there any other questions on this particular consent agenda?
So nothing is getting tabled on here except for the letters.
The letters are being tabled, correct?
Everything else stays.
Right. Does anybody have any questions or issues with that?
No.
So I need a motion and a second to approve items 3 through 11. No, through 12, because we moved, right, we moved the other one? So items 3 through 12.
I think you did your motion, you just keep it all in favor. Just confirm with Jesse.
Didn't I do a motion to discuss and not?
You did a motion to discuss, but that motion puts it on the table.
Okay, good, okay. So then I need an all in favor to accept those? Thank you, Mylene. Aye. All right. The next one is the second consent agenda, but we're gonna bypass that and go to, public comment first. Okay, so we're gonna do public comment for 30 minutes. We ask you to please step up to the podium. You don't have to say your name. You have 3 minutes, and I'm really gonna adhere you to that because we have a lot of other discussion items. So once you hear this bell, that means you have like 15 seconds left. I am gonna ask you to wrap it up after that. Okay? So we'll open it up now. Anyone that wants to come up and speak?
Good evening. I guess I've composed this for the last few months, so I will read my feelings on what's going on. It has become quite clear to me that a few of the board members have only a singular agenda Well, I'd like to remind you that we are not a singular district. We are multifaceted, and I believe we need to start looking at the whole picture. We have board members who wanted to tighten and retighten the budget over the last few years. So I pose the question, when you pay your house bills and you have $1 or $2 left over, do we throw it away? Do we donate it? I don't know about you. I save it for a rainy day. So over the last few years, this board has made the decision to not follow an administrator's, I guess, budget, that they were trained, educated, and experienced on it, and we left money on the table. So the taxpayers saved pennies, and now here we are with no rainy day funds, and it's basically pouring out. So I've listened to how you're looking to move monies and how much we'll have and what we can pull from reserves. Well, I'll tell you that the non-budgeted salaries and supplies, et cetera, are going to exceed the numbers that I've heard pushed about tonight. So maybe the board could also explain, while during the pandemic, they negotiated and created MOAs. This district paid monies to employees that were deemed non-essential by the governor. We paid them out more money to sit home and not work, and they earned more money this year not working than they've earned in the prior 2 years while they did work. The district reopened the retirement deadline for CTA members, which was great, gave them an opportunity for maybe some people on the fence who decided they didn't want to return due to the pandemic, and they were allowed to retire without a loss to their incentive. However, a 20-year member of my unit with significant health issues was forced to pay back the $4,000 incentive that she had received in order to retire safely under these current health concerns. With all the accommodations that were made to other units, the CCA wasn't even responded to in a request at the time for a compensation. We risked our lives. We were the essential employees that were here and carried upon the business of this district during the pandemic. You bent over backwards to avoid grievances. I've heard it through the years. Don't want a grievance. Don't want this. We can settle that. But no one wants to settle anything with us. You would not even consider an emergency compensation for something that we've had a past practice on. Nothing. Even Target gave hazard duty pay to their people. We, nothing. So I guess this really proves to me and to my other members who feel like that this is how little you think of the CCA members. In closing, I'd like to remind the members of the board of some of your responsibilities according to New York State Board Association Code of Ethics, where it clearly states, it is the duty of a school board member to make a good faith effort to serve with integrity and to the best of one's ability. Each member should make decisions based upon a careful review and discussion of all relevant facts. It also states under official conduct that the board member must never use one's position to benefit either oneself, a family member, or any other individual or entity. I will paraphrase from our own policy. School board member professional standards. Under leadership, understand that authority rests with the board as a whole, not with an individual member. You should listen carefully with an open mind. Refer and guide people with concerns to the appropriate staff. Meaning that if an employee reaches out to you directly, you should be referring them back to the appropriate party, a supervisor, a director, an administrator, or a union. You should commit your time and energy to be informed and competent by all parties in all manners. Please meet the expectation of transparency, including disclosing potential conflicts of interest, and refrain from discussing or voting on those issues. So recuse yourself if you have a potential vested interest. So I will conclude with more consideration and respect than my unit has received by wishing that you all stay safe. Thank you.
Good evening. Good, how are you? So I'm standing here before you as a parent of someone from the Connect West Swim Club, as an alumni of class of 93, and a parent of 2 children at the high school. I'm also standing here as someone who's gone through, with my husband, a rare form of cancer called multiple myeloma, where he had to go through 2 stem cell transplants where you wipe out a complete immune system. So I understand the concern that this board has about keeping our community safe in this COVID virus. But I do want to kind of look at the facts and just not with fear. So as someone who has gone through a personal situation where I had to wear a mask every day to keep my husband safe and wear gloves and be protective, swimming was one thing that gave my daughter a relief with all the things that we went into. And being educated was one thing I always wanted to make sure that I didn't put anybody at risk. And my question was to Memorial Sloan Kettering at the time, would my daughter swim put my husband at risk? And the answer was no. The CDC also has come out stating that swimming is low risk and you can't contract COVID through swimming. There's potential in these kids and the mental health benefits and the physical benefits that these kids get to swim. What a lot of people don't understand is these kids swim 11 months out of the year. They're there 5 to 6 days a week, 1 to almost 2 hours a day. They make them better citizens. They make them better students. They keep them focused. And you guys always talk about anxiety with the kids and what's happening with these kids. These swim kids, my daughter walks past this pool every other day, and is heartbroken that this is the only school that's not allowing them to use their pool to swim. It's their release. It helps them focus. And as a parent, to see my daughter come home after 8th period so she could do her music at 9th period and then take a nap because she's depressed or because she's tired and she misses her physical activity. I'm asking, I know we've been sending letters to the board. I know someone was here at the board meeting asking you to please reevaluate the use of the pool. We do not need to go in through the main building. There's 2 doors. There's been a safety program that's been put out there. We can have an entrance, 1 exit. We have another door out. The windows are always open. The kids don't share equipment. They have their own. There's social distancing in the pool. There's all these guidance. I please ask you to reconsider the use of allowing us this pool. It's detrimental to these kids. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Christine Ebner. My son Wyatt is here. He's a 5th grader at Bossy Elementary. That was just so beautifully stated, but since I'm here, I figured I should say something. We've been in the swim club for 3 years, and I just wanted to say that every single swimmer that we've come across has been such a good kid, very respectful, very diligent, and I think whatever system, whatever protocols are put in place, we would follow it to the T. So that's all I wanted to say, and I thank you for your time.
Hello, I'm also a ConnectPod alumni. My name is Danielle. My son's in 5th grade. He goes to Bossy. I just want to say everything that they're saying, and I'm getting all upset now too because it's so important to us and to our children. And I did send a letter, and something that's so important too to touch base on is for their education. Especially now he's in 5th grade and they literally cannot move at their desk. Like everything is coming to them. And it's been great. And the teachers are doing a great job and he's happy. I'm happy he's in school, but he needs that physical release. He cannot sit there all day and then come home and there's nothing else to do. And he looked forward to swim. He swam 5 days a week here at his age, 9 years old. At 8 years old, he was swimming 5 days a week. And I just, it helped him to focus so much at school every day because he got all that energy out. So he wasn't so squirmy all day at his desk, trying to learn. It's even helping the academics part of the students. And like Christine said, and everything, we would follow every rule to make sure they're safe and, for COVID. And they have been swimming. It's been really hard, but we were using other facilities for the pool and we followed every guideline. None of the swimmers have contracted COVID through the entire time that we were using another facility. The students are great. They're going to follow every rule that you give them. And I just, please, thank you.
Hi, good evening. How are you? My sentiments are the same as the other parents have expressed. I also am a parent of a Connecticut Swim Club swimmer, a varsity member of this school. I want to read you a letter that my son wrote. It's a different perspective. He's not here tonight because he has one opportunity this week to actually swim in a public pool at 5:30 in the morning before school. So I said, you can't come here, you got to get to bed early. So I'm going to read this on his behalf. I'm writing this letter to ask for your sincere consideration in opening Connecticut's pool, as keeping it closed is having detrimental effects on my team's physical and mental health. We have been unable to train for almost 7 months, and now we are watching our competitors from local school districts, which have already opened their pools, including Hop Hog, Half Hollow Hills, Farmingdale, and Sayville, participate in USA Swimming sanctioned events. They are gaining a significant edge in keeping and getting athletic scholarships for college as they are showcasing their talents and have recorded times for college recruiters to see. While we sit back and patiently wait, our team suffers from the lack of camaraderie and connection they once had from being part of a team. We are becoming more frustrated as we watch our schools give their student athletes opportunities to train now, 3 months before high school sports resume in January, while we lose our competitive edge. All we ask for is the chance to prove to you we can be compliant with protocols to keep everyone safe while we live out our last year at Connecticut High School. As a senior, I have little to look forward to regarding traditional events and understand the new normal is something we have to adjust to. This past weekend, I helped my Taekwondo instructor of 10 years break down his store as he announced a week earlier he can no longer stay in business because of financial losses. Our new way of education also keeps me from having contact with my peers. My social connection has practically disappeared and is limited to looking at screens. My future studies will eventually confirm the detrimental effects of taking away the physical, mental, and social connections we once had. So please make opening Connecticut's pool a priority for all of us so we can get ourselves back to the Connecticut strong status we once had. On behalf of my teammates of the Connecticut Boys and Girls Swimming and Diving Varsity Team and Connecticut Swim Club, my son, Kyle Gorman. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Michael Manfredonia. I didn't introduce myself at the last meeting. I was the one here last time that was requesting you as the board to reconsider your decision about the pool. And I want to say thank you. I'm glad it is on the agenda for tonight for you guys to discuss. As you can see, I brought help this time. And that's all we can ask is that you listen. But I'm going to ask you to do one thing further. Well, two things further, besides hopefully reopen the pool. The last meeting, the board, members of the board, Dr. Adams. Dr. Adams raised about her custodial staff and how they've been keeping everything clean and disinfecting and keeping our kids safe. Members of the board said that our kids are resilient. Our kids need to get back to normal. You opened up the fields, you opened up the playgrounds. So that is the means for them to get back to that. The pool is our kids' fields. That is our normal. All we ask is we just want our normal back. Not to go anywhere else where cleaning rules or regulations may be questionable, all right? This is our home pool. Our kids want to be home, and we want to be home where it's safe. If you're keeping the rest of the building safe and you're keeping up with the pool as well, there really shouldn't be a safety issue, and our kids will be back to normal. That's all I have to say. Please consider that with your decision tonight. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name's Jason Borowski. My daughter Elena is 11 years old, swims on the Connecticut Swim Club. Here this evening, I saw that opening the pools up for discussion this evening. I'm actually going to ask you to take that a little bit further and hopefully motion and vote on getting us back in the pool this evening. As has kind of been alluded to, time is of the essence for us. We're probably about a month behind everybody else already. Another 2 weeks till your next board meeting is just going to put us that much further behind. I don't envy the position that you're in. You've got to make a lot of decisions with information coming at you quickly, ever changing, trying to keep in mind the best interest of all students. And one of the things you might be thinking is that this is a small group of students and we have an entire school or an entire district to consider. What I can say about that is that Coach Alex has put together a pretty detailed and, to this point, very functional back to swim program in terms of precautions, preventative measures. As it was stated earlier, there's a single exit door, single entrance door for the pool. We wouldn't be using the locker room facilities. We are completely isolated from the remainder of the high school building in that facility. And the good thing for the board is that this isn't really an experiment that we would have to conduct here. It's something that's already been tried and proven when we swam at the Stony Brook School throughout the summer last year. And that was in a facility where we had different groups, meaning that there were other clubs that were swimming here as well, whereas this would strictly be limited to our club. To echo some of the things that some of the other parents have said, it's really a family, this team. And it's not just a family in terms of the kids, it's a family in terms of the adults too. And the reason for that is if you've ever sat for 4 hours in a single room that's about 90 degrees and smells of chlorine, and your kid's got 3 events that might take up 3 minutes of time, and you're only hoping for that to get faster, all of a sudden you get really friendly with the people that are around you, hoping for the same thing. And on top of that, the kids and just being together with each other, sharing in each other's successes, sharing in each other's failures, and being there for each other. There are so many life lessons that come out of sports. And to be able to provide that back to them, which is the opportunity that you guys have as a board, that's what we're asking for. We're asking for you to evaluate and take this step that would literally have no impact on all the other kids that don't swim, but tremendous impact on the kids on this team. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. All right. My parents pretty much said everything that I was going to say, and I think they said it pretty well said. For those that don't know me, I am the varsity coach here at Connecticut. Would have been starting my 26 years, but we know what Section 11 has done, so I've been coaching here for 25 years. This is more than just a coaching job for me. It is about family. I am also a Connecticut alumni, class 93. I started swimming in this pool when I was 8 years old. I was the captain of this varsity team back when I was in high school. So again, it's not just a job for me. It's something a little bit more special. Basically, you heard a lot of stuff tonight. Our team is in a tremendous deficit at this point. Surrounding teams are in full swing. We are not. Even tonight, the club out of Sable and Sable Varsity started practice tonight at Sable because Sable has opened up their pool to their community and their club team. You know, one thing about Connecticut is we are well known in this county. If you've heard about us or not, we've been recognized many times at board meetings. With that said, it is a very, very affordable program. If you know or don't know, Connecticut Swim Club is the cheapest swim club on Long Island as far as tuition. You go anywhere else, and this is public view, you're almost double tuition anywhere. So we're offering our community a safe place to be for a very affordable price. And honestly, if there ever is a hardship with our families, we work with them. Your kid will never not swim because you can't pay a bill. That will never happen. I have 2 kids of my own who are involved in sports. I have over 100 kids, adopted kids, and I'm thankful I don't have to pay child support with these 100 kids. But as you heard, we are family. All right, we have each other's backs, and you can interview anyone on our team, and they'll say the same thing. All right, the things that we do, we give back to a lot of the kids. For instance, our seniors walk away every year with a $500 scholarship so they can buy a book in college. Just to put it in perspective, we had 17 seniors graduate this year, and they each got a $500 scholarship. So we gave back to our kids almost $9,000. So we run a very, very tight budget to keep it affordable for our community. I ask that you please reconsider this. It's time of the essence right now. Our kids need that outlet. They don't want to fear every day that they're behind and their competitors are training and then they're not. And my juniors and seniors are flipping out because they can't. They haven't refreshed their time since March. So now, as far as them being recruited, they're not even on the spotlight because they can't refresh their times. We can't go to meets. I will never put a kid in a meet that is not trained. So we ask that you please give us your blessing tonight to move forward and get our kids that outlet that they truly need. So thank you.
Alex, if Alex is the last speaker, I'd like to ask him some questions.
Sure.
Okay.
I definitely would like to offer some clarity here.
Okay. I have a granddaughter who swims, just like I understand how you feel, because my granddaughter lives for swimming. She swims all over the island because they don't have a pool in Rocky Point. She can't swim at Sachem because she belongs to the Sachem Swim Club. She can't swim there. So she goes every place possible. They did have a meet, which we can only see on Zoom. We weren't allowed to go. So I'm asking you, what are your rules? Would parents allowed to be in the room when the kids swim, or parents have to be outside the room? How many people? I mean, those are the things that I think that the district would want to know. Will you be having meets? Where will these meets be? How will they be held? Those are, I think, some of the important things that, you should share with us.
Sure, and that's a great question. I mean, if you did look through my safety plan, as far as practices go, there will be no parents entering the facility. It will just be our athletes entering one way, exiting another way. As far as meets, honestly, we need to get ourselves back into shape before we even have meets. And right now, with USA Swimming, meets are very, very limited. So
Right.
we don't host meets here. So it's really up to the meet directors that are hosting the meets that dictate who can come in, who can't come in, et cetera. If anything, we would have a time trial here for our athletes only, which again would just be the swimmers, maybe a parent, but that's something I would love to discuss with the board, give you some clarity as far as the safety plan as well. But we're willing to work. And we did mention also trying to make at least one night a community night to allow our community to have an outlet as well, that we would kind of oversee and take under our wing as far as having the outside community come in. Again, it's something that we definitely have to sit and talk as far as how we want to run that as well.
Yeah, I also like to say, I noticed like this.
Sorry, Lee, I have to wrap this up because we have the auditor online. We can talk about that
I was
at the
just gonna
second.
say, all I
consent
was gonna
agenda.
say is I understand how a parent sits there for 4 hours for a kid swimming for 3 minutes. Wow, that's all I can say about that. That's a long
I'm
time
sorry,
to sit
we
to
just have the
watch.
auditor online waiting
Sure.
for us.
We'll go back there.
We have the auditor online.
No, I
We'll
understand
go
that.
back to
I
that.
want to go back to it because I want a resolution to.
We have to, we'll go back to the second one. I have the auditor. Okay.
As soon as she's done.
Yeah.
Alex, we'll bring it back up.
Okay.
After the next consent agenda, we're gonna run out and do our exec quick and then come back in and,
I want a motion.
that's the second consent. We have it on the agenda. It's there. It's there.
Do we have his plan?
How are you? Good. Thank you for coming tonight, Jill. You're very welcome. We have a few questions, well, I have a few questions on funding and reserves. I remember the last meeting you came to speak with us, and you said our reserves are fully funded. I'd like to know if you still think that's the case. And what you think the impact of $17 million going into funds are, well, we don't know what our expenditures could be. In other words, should we create a different fund so that we can spend the money for COVID materials? We're funding the same reserves, and again, your last audit, you said that they were fully funded.
Okay, I'm not sure if numbers saying they're fully funded. What I think what I said is that they're in good shape as far as the funding levels that you've established through last year. That was before looking at the fact that you're using some of those reserves as an offset revenue to the budget that you have for the following year. So just
Isn't that what reserves are for?
by way of example, so if you look at your fund, right now your reserves, you will have somewhere in the neighborhood of about $22 million, but of the $22 million, you have already taken $6.3 million out to support the 21 budget. So you're down now to $16 million in reserves. So although the reserve balances may look very healthy at June 30th, July 1st, they look quite different because you use those funds to go ahead and take care of expenditures as part of the budget. You were asking also about other reserves, and unfortunately, the state under general municipal law, education law, only prescribes certain reserves to be used by school districts. There's no contingency reserve at this point, and so Connecticut's done as you've been in legal compliance with establishing the reserves, spending, appropriating the reserves, spending for the purpose for which they were intended. So there is no additional place right now that the state gives you the ability to set aside funding for something other than what general municipal law, education law provides for.
Okay, and what is the percentages of the funds right now of the total budget? How much do we have in reserves? And aren't you supposed to use the reserves for just this reason?
No, you do, and that's
Okay.
what I was saying before.
Right.
So if you think about your budget for 2021, you've gone ahead and you've applied fund balance, and you've also appropriated reserves. The amount of fund balance you applied is $3.6 million, and you've also appropriated reserves of $6.3 million. So in total, you've taken district funding that's been accumulated of about $10 million, and you've used that to support your budget for 2021. So what you've done then is you depleted the reserves by $6 million, and so to the extent that you want to continue to use those reserves to support your budget, you need to be able to continue to fund them if you do have surplus, especially in an unusual year like this year that just passed.
Right, so what you're saying then was we have $16 million to fund reserves, but we only use 6 million of it, or 22 million to fund reserves, and we use 6? Am I understanding that right?
Which is a big percentage, okay? Because if you think about it, if I need 6 every year, now in 3 years plus, if I'm able to, okay, and things, other things financially don't happen, I will have used all my reserves if I don't go ahead and replenish them.
Right, so we should replenish the 6 million, and then what about the other 12, 14, 16 million dollars? You just said 22 and we use 6.
You have $22 million, you've appropriated 6 for next year. The 16 that remains there is for things such as if teachers or if staff decide that they want to leave during the year, you have an employee benefit accrued liability reserve. You, the Board of Education, will say to the administration, we want to appropriate money out of that reserve for that particular purpose. If the retirement system rates happen to grow more than they have in the past, the Board of Education would say to administration, rather than increasing the budget line for that through additional taxes, or rather than using additional taxes to support that increase in the budget line, we're going to use some of our reserve to do that. And so the $16 million that remains after the $6 million is appropriated, we don't know how fast that's going to get spent down, because there are some expenditures that we're not aware of what the extent of those will be.
Right. All right, Bridget, I have a question for you on the, didn't we just transfer $1 million out of that New York State Employee Benefit Fund?
Which one, I'm sorry?
We transferred it, the one you just said, the New York State Employee? Wasn't that on the last transfer, last meeting? I questioned you about the 1 point something million dollars that we transferred out of there. Is that the same fund?
We didn't transfer anything out of reserves.
No, it wasn't reserves. It was New York State. She's talking about the employee.
That's health insurance. That is
Right.
funded through a line item, not the reserve.
Right, but don't we have a reserve line for that as well?
Not for health insurance, no.
Okay, so I'm confusing the health insurance with what?
Yeah, but they talked about that, that's correct, but they never went through with formalizing a reserve supported by general municipal law. Nothing for health insurance.
Okay, that's what, okay. But, so we took it out of the budget, not the reserve. Okay.
We're supposed to refund, fill the reserves.
If you don't
Isn't that-
replace the reserves, and you're
With
going
what
to
money?
need them to help support the budget, you come up with $10 million collectively, you can appropriate.
Okay, so that's the question I'm gonna ask.
And so if you wanted to continue
We're
along
not talking
that
about that.
vein, right, at some point, you're going to need to be able to replenish those reserves. And that's irrespective of the additional cost for people that may separate from the district and increases in the retirement rates that I just talked about. for additional workers' comp exposure. This is just from keeping things level from a budgeting standpoint.
So my last question is this: what percentage were the reserves last year in regards to the budget? And then if we fund them this year with that remaining balances the way it's outlined, what will the percentages be this year?
So if I look at it, and just bear with me 1 second. So
Sure.
I looked at all of the amounts for last year, not including capital reserve because that's already earmarked. You started the year collectively, and you start the year means July 1st of 2019. You started with $2.26 million, 26.6. You appropriated, okay, for the 20 budget, $4.7 million of appropriated reserves. So that means your reserves are down to $21,929,000, okay? And every percentage of your budget, so you're talking about 10% of your budget.
Okay.
Somewhere in that neighborhood, right? 11% of your
Right.
budget. The budget's $194 million for 2020. And then fast forward to this year that we're talking about. So your budget is about $199 million, a little bit over $199 million. Without putting additional funding, without $0 of additional funding into the reserve, you're still at $22 million, okay? So you're talking about from a percentage standpoint, you haven't really changed the reserves. You've appropriated some, but for the most part, as far as what you have, it's pretty much the same as where you were last year. And then if I'm starting at the same place and I need to take $6.3 million out to help my budget for 2021, then that means I'm sitting with somewhere in the neighborhood of about $16 million in reserves, right after I appropriate for 2021.
Which brings the percentage down a little bit. So we put that $6 million.
That puts down about $5 million.
So if we put that $6 million back in, then we're still in the same position that we were last year.
Pretty much so, very close. Like maybe had $990,000 more, okay, than where you were last year.
Okay, so almost $1 million.
Yeah.
Okay.
Almost $1 million.
All right.
Correct.
Jill, thank you. That's all the questions I have.
950.
Okay,
950.
perfect. Thank you. That's all the questions I have.
So-
Anyone else?
Yeah, you'd have to put 10 million back into it, right, in order to bring it back to the 26? Am I misunderstanding something?
I'm sorry?
If you have to, would you have to put 10 million back into the reserves to bring it back to 26 million? Am I reading it?
What I was saying is if you, I think the board has a resolution whereby they identified around number $6,961,000. I'm just rounding the number, okay?
Okay,
So if you went ahead and you funded that into reserves, that brings you up to 29 million and change, right? And that's 29.2. If I appropriated to the 2021 budget $6.3 million, then I'm down to somewhere in the neighborhood of about 22.8. And that's the $1 million round numbers more than the previous year. That's with the understanding that the board is going forward on reaffirming the resolution from June.
so you're saying we have to put $6 million back in?
If you put it, I think you identified the $6,961,335.
Right.
If you put that into the reserves, and then you take out that which is used for the budget for 2021, the reserve balance will be $22,878,000, so it's up, I talked it out a little bit less than $1 million from the previous year, so you have some stability.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question, I guess, but it might go to Bridget. I'll ask for which one is. What's going to happen with, I know that the state came back with, they were going to send the money, but we're not positive yet if it's going to actually get here. Am I right? Isn't that what you had told us? The money, the state aid. So what happens in the event that the state aid doesn't come through though?
Okay, that's a good question. That's where your unassigned fund balance comes in. And so you don't have a contingency reserve, there's no such thing, and there's no loss of revenue reserves. So this is where your 4% of the state says that you can keep and be in compliance. You'll start to eat into that if the state decides that those 20% holdouts are permanent.
What percentage are we at if we fund reserves back to the levels from last year?
After the appropriated, you're going to be $22 million on $199 $29 million budget.
And that's after we refund the reserves, the 6 million?
Yes, that's right, that's placing the money as per the new resolution, and that's taking the money out of the fund of the 2021 budget. It will be about $22,800,000.
Right, no, so then we stop the reserve, we fund them tonight, so we fund them tonight. What's left over then?
I'm sorry, say that again?
If we fund the reserves tonight, what's left then?
Okay, take the 22 million, because we're already into this year.
Okay, so now I don't have the unassigned fund balance, I'm sorry.
Oh, the unassigned fund balance will be at the 4%, and the 4% number is going to be, let's see, hold on a second, please. $7,977,000.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else?
Bridget, are you putting 20,000 into the unemployment insurance reserve?
Are there any other questions for Jill? Can I let her go?
No, I'm good, I'm good.
Okay, Jill, can I?
Well, do you want to ask Jill regarding the other resolution that's on the agenda for this evening?
Is that the one I'm looking at now? Whereas the Board of Education adopts the funding,
Oh, that's the one I don't have. So,
the funding the reserves of the resolution?
you can email it to 2:00.
Dean, are you speaking about the, whereas the Board of Education adopted the funding the reserves of resolution of June 29th? Are you speaking about that?
No, it's the ordinary contingent resolution.
Okay, well, yes, actually, I was looking at that, but I actually wanted to go back one step. And I guess this question would be, because it's something that we have to approve for today. You're only putting 20,000 into the unemployment insurance reserve?
Yes.
But didn't you just speak about before that, you know, those numbers are gonna be higher? Is that gonna be substantial enough to?
I don't have the budget, though, that's the reserve. I can't speak because I'm just giving you that.
Thank you. That's a great question. This is effective 6/30/20 to close out the 2019-2020 school year. This isn't the 2021.
Wait, I'm just looking at this now that we got this over. Jill, I thought you said $6 million we needed to refund. We needed to fund the. Okay, so why does this say 3 million?
Yeah, so if you look at,
Over the reserve amount, so if you place right now, the amount that's over the 4%, the round number is, I'm going to say $10 million, the round number. If you place 6 million, not 6, the number that you had was $6,961,000, I believe, in round numbers, is what the Board of Education proposed in their June resolution. That means it's approximately $3 million to spill over the 4%. And that would be the funding that I'm understanding is needed to take care of the ordinary contingent expenditures COVID-related, health and safety and education, that were not provided for in the original budget.
So that's that $3,056,000?
That's correct. So that's a separate resolution, and that resolution then would give you the ability, because they're ordinary and contingent, to increase the 2021 budget with unassigned fund balance. The unassigned fund balance will be a piece that's over 4% at June 30th, which is that $3 million number. And that will then then you'll have the authority to spend for those expenditures. If you don't have a funding source, then you don't have the authority to spend for those expenditures.
So we're creating a new. Oh, no, we're just taking the unassigned and putting it in there. Okay, I got it.
That's correct. What you're really doing is you're flagging your unassigned at June 30th, 2020 and saying, we need to hold on to this because we don't have another source right now that we feel that we want to use to take care of these expenditures that have been identified, the salaries and all of these other COVID-related costs that were not in the original budget when it was authorized.
So if we hadn't done COVID, we would have $3 million that over the 4% extra anyway.
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any more questions for Jill? We can let her get back to her
I'm good. Thank
home.
you.
Jill, thank you so much for joining us via Zoom. We appreciate it and for answering my questions.
Okay, you're very welcome. Have a good evening.
You too.
All right, bye-bye now.
Bye-bye. Okay. All right, so those are on the consent agenda, the second one.
So then let's go to the ordinary contingent resolution that Dean was referencing before.
Well, before we go to the second consent agenda, because we needed that discussion, we still have to do, because I'd like to come out and do the item that we tabled for the first consent agenda. So can we take a brief recess to go into executive session? This way the public's still here, and then we can come back out and vote on the second consent agenda.
Can we?
So I just want to make sure that there are no more questions regarding the funding of the reserves piece.
I have no more questions of that.
Okay.
Are we going to put up, so for 2, 3, and 4, we're going to approve?
I think we need to go discuss some things in executive first, and then come out here and vote on the second consent. And the items that we have that are still pending from executive session. So can I get a motion and a second to go into a brief executive session?
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then we will be back out here to discuss the second consent agenda and finish the voting. Thank you. Jesse, you want this back? 'Cause I have- I understand. That's your turn. Yeah, we're going to, after we do executive. Well, that's why I want to do the executive stuff, get it done, we can come back out here and you gotta talk about that.
I need a motion and a second to enter back into public session for the meeting October 13th, 2020. I need a motion and a second.
Motion.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Okay. The next thing on the agenda is, discussion on. Oh, yeah, let's do that one. Okay. So the next agenda has three items, yes, design items, this is not here. Ordinary contingent reserves, fund reserves, tax levy, I see right there. Okay, so we're voting on items 1 through 4. Oh, right, well, that was the second. Okay, so consent agenda items are, I did motion in second for consent agenda items 2 through 4 and then discussion.
Motion.
Second, any discussion? So I don't have any, so all in favor? Yes. Yes. All in favor? All in favor? Aye. The next thing is the consent agenda item that we tabled. And then there's schedule 2, item for the table. All in favor? Aye. Now we talk about the pool.
I'm for opening the pool.
Okay, good.
I'm for allowing our seniors to get back in the pool. Let the juniors get back in the pool. Let the kids from the swim club get back in the pool. There is no issues on Long Island with the pools that are already open, so we're not the guinea pig. I agree with that. And we also, other pools have opened and we're not gonna be doing any meets here, bringing in other people. We're spending money to put chlorine in the pool regardless. There's upkeep of the pool regardless if kids are in the pool or not. We're wasting taxpayer money to not allow the pool to be utilized. I'm for opening the pool.
Okay,
Well, I have questions.
okay.
Okay, so, Alex, where are you?
Alex, you're gonna be on the hot seat right now. I just want to, Marlene, before you go on, Dean, did you want to, oh no, this is after we have the discussion. Okay, forget it.
Okay, so you know, as the Board of Education, we are not only tasked with you providing a service to use the buildings, we also have others, our clubs. We have teachers that are not having indoor clubs that, you know, normally would have indoor clubs. So when I think about opening up the pool, I have to think about the next step, because the next step is going to be, in fact, today, we got an email today. Why can't a club operate? When I look at the other districts, I'm seeing that other clubs are starting to operate internally, meaning that if it's not too big of a showing, there's clubs coming in. So I have a few questions for you, but one of the things that I heard you point out, and I have to be honest with you, it's been a frustration of mine for the last 3 or 4 years being on the board, starting in my 7th year. And I seem to get some pushback. I seem to get some resistance on why this can't take place. I live in Sayville, but I live in Connecticut District. So if I want to go into the Sayville pool, and I think they have free swim twice a month, I'm allowed to do it. I'm a Sayville resident. I pay my $5 or whatever it is. I can use the Sayville pool. I can't use the Connecticut pool. the district where I'm actually paying my taxes into. So over the years, I've had seniors that reach out to me, you know, senior citizens that reach out to me and say, why is Sable offering their district, you know, why they're offering swim? I've had this conversation with Linda. There's resistance, don't know why. But now that we're gonna have these conversations about the pool, I'm gonna resurrect that conversation. And sort of what I'm hearing is that you spend quite a bit of time at that pool. So basically, again, I want you to clarify if I'm incorrect in any of the information I get. So basically, at 2:18, when the bell rings, the pool automatically becomes yours. So from 2:18 to like 11 p.m. at night or 10 p.m. at night, all day Saturday and Sunday, that's the impression I'm under. So I want you to
Well, that's great, and I'm glad I'm here to clarify that, because that is certainly not true. Varsity, the school team, trains after school until 4:30. The club doesn't use the pool until the evening times, 5 p.m. to about 8:45 p.m., Monday through Friday.
So is that working off the stipend that you receive for the girls that do the varsity swim?
Those are two separate teams, two separate entities.
Okay, so when you
I
say
am
that you're
paid
working
as a
until 4,
varsity coach from the district. The varsity practice from 2:30 to 4:30. The club is another entity. It has nothing to do with, they're both separate programs. The only thing that's together are varsity kids swim for the club and vice versa. So just to answer your other question before, we don't use the pool from 2 to whatever. The club has allocated times. I actually have to submit my times that I want to use ahead of time to Jen Piano, and that's how she bills us, according to the times that we use.
so is there any other organization that's using the pool aside from you?
Yes, the Boy Scouts, and this can be verified through athletics. If the Boy Scouts want to use the pool, they let us know what days they want to use the pool, and either we cut our practice in half and allow them to use the pool, or we cancel practice, but they, what's that? Yeah, no, swim club, because the Boy Scouts will use the facility in the evenings when we have practice. What's that? Yes, and we give them the pool. So we always work it out. We don't take the pool over and say no one can have it. That's not true at all.
So Saturday and Sunday, you don't use the pool?
Saturdays only, no Sundays. We never use the pool on Sunday, ever.
Okay, so bringing back, so we're gonna circle back to the conversation, but you mentioned about putting an offer to do a free swim. Could you elaborate what that actually means? Is it the same thing I'm thinking?
Yes.
That Sable
so
does
when-
$5, you get the free.
Town of Ice.
Well,
When I-
Sable District does
I'm
it
gonna
too.
take it, right. So what I mentioned before was we'd look to do an open swim night one night for the community, free of charge. We're not charging anybody. It's gonna be up to the district on how you wanna allocate allowing the community to use it. But we, as a swim club, would host the lifeguards for it and kind of control the deck, for that open swim. So there'll be no charge. It will be free to the community. Again, the swim club would pick up the tab as far as.
When you say pick up the tab, how much do you charge your swimmers right now?
Each group is different. There's different tuitions.
Give me the lowest one.
Uh,
Because you said you gave back 17,000. As far as I'm concerned, what's 9,000? I thought you said 17. 17.
$9,500.
So when you get, obviously, you
That's
don't give that
for
back.
scholarships.
You make that to give it back, correct?
Well, it's part of it, yes, it's collected within the tuition that we have a budget that's presented, and then, we're allocated, for whatever we need for that year.
So what's the lowest per kid? Is it all Connect One students also?
Yeah, majority, yes.
Okay,
Majority.
we got the
We
number.
fit the criteria for the
And
percentages.
what's the cost for the kids?
So it can range from $925 and up to about,
$925?
yes. And that's based off a year. It's a year. So if you break it down, it's broken down to like $3 a day in amount. Because we offer practices from, some groups go 6 days a week, some go 3, some go 5.
Do you pay your, the varsity kids?
No.
They
Yeah,
volunteer?
some of our kids, our seniors are paid
Okay.
for our Saturday swim program. And then we also do they volunteer their time as well.
Okay.
Right.
I'm gonna say that I have no issue with the swim club opening up but
John has.
they have to speak to John Allen first. We'll make a resolution tonight. I know Jackie's gonna make that motion to do that. I have no problem with it, but there are some things, such as, what's the name of that thing that we gotta do?
Pre-approve a safety plan like the.
No, there's a person that has to be there by law. Excuse me, certified pool operator. I'll let John go there.
Resolution passes if you don't mind, I'd step in the back of the room and talk to Alex, which Alex real quickly, we'll establish the lines of communication.
So we can put that in the resolution that as long as all this criteria is,
Can I just say something? With the pool operator, again, my schedule will go out to Jen Piano. She has all the allocated dates, which went out to, I guess, John, or, I mean, at the time it was Andrew, maybe?
Athletics. Athletics was pool usage, then the building use has a fee schedule associated with it that goes through Jen Piano and business office. From this, the only piece with the certified pool operator is something that the district plant facilities does the training for maintenance mechanics and for some of the building level custodians. The only thing I say now is we are in a time of COVID and all staff members are stressed tonight. We need to make sure we get staffed. So while you may sit there and have a request to work, to use pool from 2 o'clock to 8 o'clock on any given night, I still need to be able to staff it as per Suffolk County Department of Health with the certified pool operator.
and that can't come from tax funds. We can't, because that's a gift of public funds.
To my understanding, there is already someone allocated for the pool in that time frame.
So that's not 100% true because people take vacation, take sick days and everything.
Right, yes, I
When I
understand.
arrived at the district, we had 2 people in the district that were certified pool operators. Since then, I trained an additional, actually we trained 8 people so that we have redundancy. That being said, as a certified pool operator, they have to be allocated to the pool. They don't have the ability to do maintenance mechanics elsewhere. So yes, we have the staff members available in the system, provided they're not sick, vacation, personal day, and or dealing with COVID-related cleaning and or maintenance.
And that's why I give her an extension of the whole year, so they have time. It goes out to, I guess, your end of it, so they can staff. They have it from.
I can't guarantee it. I'll give you.
But we can-
I'm gonna let you guys have that
Yes,
conversation.
Yes, absolutely, yes.
But it has to work out through the staffing and all that. So Lisa, can you add that language that it has to work out? So that, first of all, there's no gift of public funds. We can't do that.
No. So what I wrote was, be it resolved, the Board of Education authorizes facilities use to include use of pools within the district, subject to the district's facilities use guidelines, including COVID-19 safety plans and the facilities use fees, schedule of fees.
And the free night. That's not really free.
Community night.
Community night, we'll call it,
yeah.
right.
Well, this
I
is
did
a
submit my
general
plan.
resolution.
It's a gentleman's agreement, even though I'm not in the board.
Yeah, this is a general resolution, so in that, it would include the Boy Scouts or any other entity that wants to utilize the pool. It's not just for the Connecticut Swim Club. And contingent with such use, oh gosh, I have to read it again, is the caveat that such use is contingent upon appropriate staffing in accordance with Suffolk County Department of Health.
Is that okay with you, John? Dean?
Yes, I just asked that Alex submit the plan to Ms. Santo for review for the COVID
Yeah,
procedures.
that plan too.
I did send it. Shall I send it again?
Send it again.
Yeah, if you don't mind, thank you.
So Alex, I have another question.
Sure.
You may be aware, maybe not be aware that our coaches are not being paid right now. I understand that you mentioned earlier about 2:30 to 4:30 that you warm up our varsity girls. I don't know how to say this, but if we're not paying all the coaches, I mean, I don't know how we would pay you
I
during.
think there's a misunderstanding here. The varsity coach, I am the varsity coach.
I understand that, but I'm just saying, we're not paying other coaches in other sports.
It's a boys club, so he's gonna collect X amount of money.
No. So wait, 2:30 to 4:30.
Right now, we don't have, varsity sports are not intact.
11 is stopping.
I understand
You know,
that.
we can work out if he chooses to, which like and all of our other coaches are doing.
Oh, okay, but that
Right,
would
so
be,
Right now, I'd be volunteering my time to
Right,
do
right.
3 season workouts for the varsity
Right.
kids in the afternoon.
okay, I just want to clarify that.
And I'm not paid until January, until Section 11 gives us the A-OK to start varsity sports, and I'll be paid by the district.
Exactly, okay, I just wanted to make that clarification, yes. And then also too, I guess you'll work it out with John, what your plan would be going forward to do like a free swim for the community?
Sure, yes.
So John, is your intent to do it once or twice a month? Like, any thoughts in your head?
Well, we can do it on a designated day, we can say Thursdays. So in essence, you'll get 4 days a month.
Oh my God, that'd be great, yeah.
But we could definitely work out a plan. We would just have to work out, I guess, the district would have to have a safety plan to do that.
No, I really.
As far as numbers you would allow into the district.
Yeah.
To do that.
I got, well, how do I, can somebody show?
And you said there are bathrooms in that area. Because we would have to lock up the rest of the school, no one can walk to school because we have.
Right, so yes, according to the safety plan, we'd come in one way, exit the other way, because we have 2 doors. There's no use of locker rooms, no parents within practice, unless there's an emergency of some sort, obviously. There'll be 1 bathroom used for emergency use only, which would be either my office or the girls' side office. Again, no use of the locker rooms. No use of the water fountain. So what we will do, we will take care of our own sanitation. A friend of mine owns a pool company.
District pools, subject to the district's facilities. I just want to thank Coach Alex and all the coaches from Connecticut that are going out of their way to put the time in for the winter workouts or spring, I don't even know what you call them, but the workouts that these kids and getting them back into what they want to do and giving of your time. Most people don't realize that you guys don't get paid until January if it's Section 11 opens. So thank you for that. That's a really nice thing that you guys do for them. And now I want a motion for the resolution that you have, Lisa, to be voted on.
Yeah, I'm gonna let
She's gonna read it.
and then we'll.
And then I wrote it down.
I can't make it this,
I'm not too sure we should be opening it up to the public at this point because we have no guidelines. I don't know what the DCD says,
When
And
the
Gail.
district is ready, we could talk about it.
There's no way I'm gonna make a decision without Mr. Booth, so once we get that.
That's all gonna be worked out.
Yeah, and
Yeah, this is something that
This is the
the club,
resolution to let the club use the pool, that's it.
right.
And it's contingent upon the safety plan and the facilities use guidelines, which includes a whole host of requirements with regard to submission of the safety plan.
So we did it again so we can vote on.
Sure. It says, be it resolved, the Board of Education authorizes facilities used to include use of district pools, subject to the district's facilities use guidelines, including submission of a COVID-19 safety plan and payments in accordance with the fee schedule, with the additional caveat that such use is contingent upon appropriate staffing in accordance with the Suffolk County Department of Health mandates.
Okay. I need a motion and a second to vote on. Well, Lisa just read it. I got 2 motions.
Second.
I need all in favor?
Aye.
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 thank you, appreciate it.
All the stuff is only emails. No, just kidding.
All right, we done? We got any more? Wait, we have Board of Ed questions.
Right.
I just want to say this for the people that are at home. Our community got together and they raised money and I know that there's been many children that have suffered from illnesses and from things going on. And I just want to say how proud I am of our district who went out and really, really did some really nice things to help one of our students. So we are sending from the board love to Liam tonight. And we hope that he gets better really soon, really soon.
I'm sorry, Mr. Warshaw, I believe you're running the meeting now as Ms. Panico stepped out. I just wanted to notify the board that we did get word earlier this afternoon from the New York State College Board representative about the SAT exams. We will be able to administer the SAT exams on November 7th, March 13th, May 8th, and June 5th, if my memory serves me right, probably doesn't. I wrote them down, I'm sorry I don't have them, but they are the exams in March, May, June, and this November. And the capacity is going to be 250 kids, and we are going to give top priority to our students for the Connecticut High School. If for any reason a parent should get locked out of our school, all we would ask is, hey, memory did serve me well. So it is, again, November 7th, March 13th, May 8th, and June 5th. If a parent should get locked out as they're trying to register on College Board, they just need to either notify me or Mr. Bedell, and we'll make sure that all parents have their children taking the exam at the Connecticut High School. We could certainly put that on the website. I'm sorry, Ms. August, what was that? We will send that out tomorrow morning as an email blast, and then we'll put it on the web.
Ask you a question. Can they cancel again? They seem to cancel a lot.
They would only cancel if we notified them of something that we needed to do to cancel the exam. They could also cancel as they did this past March, where they canceled every exam. I have to tell you, my daughter is a senior in high school, and she unfortunately missed the March because College Board decided to shut it down. But Connecticut High School and Connecticut School District will not be shutting down or canceling any exam. If a cancellation occurs, it will simply be because College Board has canceled the exam.
Okay, so, because it is board questions, I'm allowed to have some board question. So this question was sent to me by a parent, and it's a question that I receive quite a bit. So I'm gonna just read this general question because, again, a lot of parents ask the same thing. It's a daily fight struggle in this house with trying to give blank the extra services he's supposed to receive and working, etc. I know I'm like the most families, but this is a nightmare. His teachers email me frequently about his missing homework. Dean tells me that the stuff is done in school and he's confused what needs to be handed in or uploaded to Google Docs. I have no way of checking prior to the teacher contact. With regarding part of his services, sitting in front of a computer all day is like torture for him. So the kid receives services. He's got an IEP in 504. And I receive, a lot of parents that, and this kid is on the secondary level, that, this is very challenging for them, to have instruction this way. Now, I understand that there's quite a few neighboring districts that are starting to have conversations about their reopening plans of, fully reopening. Has the East Islip, the Islip cluster have a conversation yet on, having a conversation?
So, I think many districts, when they reopened at a less capacity than we did, especially at the secondary level, where most districts were doing the 2 days on, 1 day off, 2 days on. And it was the decision here that we went for the 5 days a week, every other day schedule. So when districts are talking about their reopening and trying to expand it, it's to go to what the current model we have.
Okay.
But, I suggest to any parent who their child is having difficulty because of the circumstances with the hybrid model or the full virtual model, to definitely reach out to the counselors and to reach out to the building administration to work to develop plans so that child can be successful. If the child does have accommodations, it is definitely something that we are revisiting, in the beginning part of the school year, because some of the accommodations aren't feasible, being in a hybrid model, and we do have flexibility with them. But if the child is still not receiving, achieving that level of success that's expected, then we definitely need to go back and look at that plan again.
So I'm imagining that this child is not the only child that's facing these difficulties, because I'm sure sitting at a screen for 5 or 6 hours can be challenging for an adult to do. I can't imagine a child that has, certain, roadblocks a little bit, to me, in my mind, it just doubles, the anticipation or the anxiety of sitting behind, a screen for that long.
Yeah, and I can speak for my own child who's in college, who's doing a hybrid model. It's not the best scenario possible. It's not what we're used to. It's not how all of our students learn best. But I think as we go through this evolution of where we are as a school district and where schools are, it's really important that communication between the home and the building take place so that we can make sure that we're providing the services that the kids need and adjusting them so that they are successful.
Okay, thank you, Dean.
Is there any more board questions?
Yes. We haven't had, now that we can meet. The boardroom, I have two questions. In the boardroom, we should start we didn't have one policy meeting yet. I think it's time that we start having some meetings. And I know, Eileen, you're on it and I'm on it.
How do you want to do it? I already sent it to Jessica, we have to set it up. I already told that to Jessica last meeting, went this way, so as soon as it comes back, we'll take it up.
Okay. And number two, my second question, a letter was written by a parent about a sports game in Ronkonkoma or OBM, I forgot which, I didn't pull it up. Jackie, I know Jackie was there, but they were still, according to this woman, there were many, many cars. There were many cars, they weren't masked, according to this
Okay, that's,
woman.
Lee, let me just stop you for a minute. Okay, I was there both days. Not only were they masked, but my husband got yelled at twice for wearing his mask under his nose. They had people coming around. I mean, we have security here. We should ask if they can pull the cameras. Because just like I'm gonna tell you, I was there. I mean, I visually witnessed it for at least 4 hours in the morning on Saturday and Sunday. At both times, they had women walking around with like traffic vests, and they were telling everybody, even if you were 6 feet apart, you had to have a mask on. Which, by the way, I don't follow that at work. So I was kind of like, wow. I mean, we did though. Everybody had to wear a mask. So if somebody wasn't wearing a mask, this is what people seem to not understand. I can't at work go up to someone and say, hey, you don't have a mask on, put it on. In a public place, in a field where they are 6 to 12 feet away from everybody else. Do you know why? Because I don't know if that person has special needs, and I have no right to ask that person about their special needs or if they have a medical issue. There are HIPAA laws. I said, it's not me just saying that, that's the law. Ms. Santos is here, I'm sure she could tell us these are things you can't be, they're not negotiable. So if you see 3 or 4 people on a field not wearing a mask, and they're not near anybody, you have to be under the assumption that, and you also don't know, if I'm standing next to my mother who lives next door to me, we pretty much live together. We live in this next door and are together all the time. So if you see me and her standing at a field with my husband and my kids or something, you may say, oh, look at these 3 people standing side by side. Yes, we've been side by side since March.
Okay.
So I'm just saying, I mean, I understand people may have seen something that I didn't see, but I was there and I'm going to tell you, I actually was saying, wow, this is a little bit overboard, overkill, what was going on. 12 feet apart and nobody's allowed to take their mask off. It was kind of crazy.
According to this woman, there were more than 50 people there.
You're allowed more than 50 people in an open field. 50 people is only for indoors.
Okay.
Does somebody have the numbers?
I'm going to ask Dean, would you please find out what the amount is? And I know when you go to other sports events, parents are allowed, no grandparents, no nothing. I mean, that's how it happens with me when I watch my granddaughter. I have to watch it on YouTube.
Well, they're allowing 2 people.
I wasn't allowed to go.
They're allowed, the tournament allowed 2 people.
So many people there. And Don, I appreciate if you would look at the tape to see, you can judge by how many cars just by looking at the tape.
Lee, you can't judge by a car. I went to the tournament in my own car, And my husband went in his own car because I wasn't gonna get there at the crack of dawn.
Can you just see how many cars?
So you just can't say that. There are people who are divorced. There are people who, if you're allowed 2 people, that's the rule. It's 2 people. Ask Linda. That's the rule.
It's a soccer
Per
game, right?
child
Was it a
on our
soccer game?
fields. It's 2 people. I have it at home. It's 2 people per child. So if those 2 people are grandma and grandpa, but not mom and dad, whoever they are, every child is allowed 2 people.
Okay, can you just check the video to see approximately how many cars you saw there at that event? No, they're not gonna be, he doesn't get paid to check a video. He's not waiting.
Way, and by the way, we have to really understand something. These were 2 different fields. So you also have to take that into account. So if you're allowed 150 people, you're allowed 150 on RMS's field, while you're allowed 150 on Duffield's field. You have to realize what the guidelines state. The guidelines are not specific. Duffield and RMS are 2 different fields. We understand that, right? 2 different buildings, 2 different locations. So, and they're 2 different addresses. So you are allowed a certain amount of people outdoors, and it is definitely more than 50, because it was 150 in June for graduations or July. So by now, it's definitely opened up even more. So you're looking at outdoors is not indoors. Indoors is 50, that's yes. But outdoors is definitely more than 150 by now, or at least 150, because that's what it was for graduation in Oyster Bay in August. You were allowed 150 people. If we would have done it outside, we were allowed the same. Now you're saying you can't have 150 people on a field, and we're into October. Come on.
All right, so I have one last question, Dean. I thought I was done with you, but apparently I'm not. So we received an email, I think it was yesterday or the day before, about a club. And then we received an email last week about clubs that the ones that we did approve doesn't address all our children's needs. Or, so are we gonna start considering opening up some clubs and,
Somebody's gotta turn their reds off.
So, Ms. August, I saw the email from you, and I was hopeful that the board would be willing to have that discussion of further clubs. We wanted to see how things progressed for this year, just a little longer, and then we were gonna bring this up in another couple of weeks. But if we want to discuss this at the November meeting, I
At the
think we
November
can.
meeting.
Right.
Because there was that email too about the special education club, and that sounded like it could be done. So I'd like a list of all those clubs, if we can get them together.
And I'll certainly get everything together for you to review, and then if we can make different decisions, certainly we are willing to do so.
Perfect.
I want to start, I understand we're doing a slow, I'm all for slow opening, let's do this
Right.
slow.
But there are other clubs that can be open virtually
Yeah,
as well.
but that person made a good point, it only catered to one group of kids, it didn't cater to
Which
all
is,
kids,
I
so.
did say that. I didn't, this is all AP. I did it now.
I'm for whatever ones we could do, like we did last time, which you can do, that like the ones that we did last time. Some they had said you just can't do virtually, you just can't do right now.
Right.
But the ones that you can, we should look into doing. We have the money to do it.
Okay,
Inclusive of the elementary clubs, I presume?
yes, all
Okay.
kids, yep. Okay. I need a motion and a second to adjourn tonight's meeting. Second, all in favor? Aye. Good night, everyone.
Good night.